Today is May 11th, 2025, and this is our weekly update on the ongoing war between Israel and the Hamas terror organization in the Gaza Strip, as well as against other enemies of Israel on various fronts throughout the Middle East. Shalom, my friends. This is the Kiva Gersh with Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or want to keep the conversation going, please do so below in the comments. The past couple of days have been very difficult here in Israel as we heard the news on Friday of two soldiers that were killed in battle in their service in the Gaza Strip. Two very young IDF soldiers. One, Yam Freid, who was supposed to turn 21 years old tomorrow, was killed as his armored vehicle was shot at and exploded. He was the one soldier killed, but in addition to him being killed, a few other soldiers were injured, some of them very seriously, in a separate incident in Rafah, in southern Gaza, a building where soldiers from the military engineering corps were staying. A Hamas terrorist shot an RPG at the building, causing the building to collapse on them. Many soldiers were injured in the incident. One soldier, Yishai Orbach, 20 years old, was killed as a result. Yishai Orbach grew up in the community where I live. He grew up going to the same school as my children. He was 2 years older than my oldest son. We saw him in elementary school. We saw him grow up. We saw him star in the school play. We saw him be one of those kids who's always volunteering, always doing, always helping, always standing up and trying to help out. He was an incredible, incredible kid. And of course, every soldier that dies in this war is a tragedy, is a devastating moment for every Israeli, but especially when you know the soldier, when you've seen the soldier, when you've watched that soldier grow up, as we have in my family, in my community, with Yishai Orbach. He moved a few years ago to a neighboring town called Zichron Yaakov. And when we heard the news, just absolutely, absolutely heartbreaking. His funeral was on Friday, a heartbreaking funeral. One of the soldiers who was severely, severely injured in the building collapse demanded from the doctors that he goes to the funeral. He said, "There's no way I'm not going to Yishai's funeral." He was brought there on a hospital bed with both of his arms wrapped in gauze and in casts, in very, very intense condition, but he wanted to be there to pay his last respects to Yishai. This is the price of this war that was started on October 7th, 2023, by thousands of terrorists from the Hamas terror organization and Islamic Jihad pouring into Israel and wreaking havoc to communities along the Gaza border. This is a war that we are still fighting, and a war that Israel still needs to fight until Hamas is completely taken out of power. That day comes closer and closer with each and every single day, and it's only because of the bravery, the courage, and the strength of IDF soldiers on the front lines, and we thank them tremendously. The IDF reports that Rafah is almost completely in the hands of the IDF, and fighting in Rafah, in southern Gaza, is now concentrated, is focused on one single neighborhood. In other news, soldiers, of course, continue to fight and to guard and to stand guard on various borders of Israel, specifically with Syria, as chaos continues to unfold there, with inner fighting within the country between different ethnic and religious groups. And Israel has committed very strongly to making sure that does not pour over into Israel, and has also committed to protecting the minority group, the Druze people in southern Syria, making sure that Israel does what they can to protect them. An ongoing story that we're continuing to update you on. At the same time, in lesser news, but this is consistently taking place, is the IDF soldiers working in the Judea and Samaria areas, as some people in the world call the West Bank, constantly, every single night, rooting out terrorism, arresting terrorists, and making sure that terrorist acts do not come to fruition. These brave soldiers are doing tremendous work and very, very difficult and challenging work, literally putting their lives in the line for the safety and for the sake of the entire country of Israel. There are some political, how do you call it, political conversations happening around America in the Middle East, and is Israel still being fully supported by America as President Trump plans to make a trip to the Middle East very, very soon, visiting various countries. Israel is not on that list of countries, and some people have been talking in the media and social media and the news about maybe America's support, I should say, strong support for Israel is wavering. Ambassador to Israel, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Huckabee, said very, very clearly just the other day that that is not true. That is not the case at all. America's support for Israel is as strong as it ever has been, and America, specifically under the leadership of President Trump, will always stand strong, and America will always stand next to its greatest ally, Israel. So that's very comforting and very reassuring for Israelis and all pro-Israel Jews around the world to hear. I do need to share one last thing. Very important is that the Hamas terror organization released another video of two more hostages. Of course, this is a propaganda video. They tell the hostages what to say, but on a positive side, it gives a sign of life to the families of these hostages and to all of Israel. Right. So on one side, it's comforting to see that they're still alive, especially under the fear just recently in the past week or two that some of the hostages are no longer alive. For a long time, Israel has talked about 24 living hostages out of the 59 remaining in the Gaza Strip. Very recently, that number has come down to 21 with a strong concern that 3 of the hostages are no longer alive. So this video comes as a reassurance to the families of those 2 hostages that they are still alive. But on the other side, we know that Hamas is using it as a propaganda video to try to put pressure on Israeli society, to influence them, to put pressure on the government to bring this war to an end. And of course, everyone in Israel wants all the hostages home now, today, yesterday. The one disagreement that people have in this country is if it's worth stopping the war completely and taking IDF troops out of Gaza in order to achieve that goal. Excuse me, a complicated conversation, not an easy decision, but the leadership of this country, of Israel, is continuing on with this war, saying that the war goals must include a complete end of Hamas rule in the Gaza Strip, and this war can only end when Hamas is out of power and Israel is able to figure out the next step for the future of the Gaza Strip. That's the news. That's the updates for this week. As always, thanking you for your prayers, your support, and your thoughts for the IDF soldiers fighting on the front lines. Many blessings from here in Israel to all of you. All the best, and be well.